We all know the list. Pride, greed, tapaz. Lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. We call them the 7 deadly sins, but this name can be misleading. They are not deadly because they are the 7 worst actions a person can commit. They are called deadly, or more accurately, capital sins, because they are the headwaters, the source from which almost all other sins flow. They are more than just a list of vices. They are strategic doorways. They are the 7 primary gateways through which the enemy enters our lives, establishes a stronghold, and begins his work of destruction. Each one you leave open is not just a personal failing. It is a formal invitation to the demonic, an unlocking of a door that was meant to be sealed by your baptism. Understanding these sins not just as bad habits, but as spiritual vulnerabilities is essential for anyone who is serious about winning the spiritual battle. The first and greatest of all sins, the one from which all others are born, is pride. It was the sin of Lucifer, who in his arrogance declared, "I will not serve." Pride is the sin of self-worship. It is the refusal to accept our status as creatures and to give God his rightful place as our creator. The proud man relies on his own strength, his own intelligence, his own righteousness. He does not think he needs God. This is the widest gateway for the enemy. When we are full of pride, we close ourselves off to God's grace. We stop praying because we think we can handle things on our own. We stop going to confession because we cannot admit our own faults. Pride isolates the soul, cutting it off from the community of the church and from God himself. The air around a prideful person is one of self-sufficiency and coldness. It is on this isolated island of self that the devil builds his fortress. From pride flows envy, the sorrow at another's good. The envious person cannot rejoice in the success, the talent, or the holiness of others. Instead, it feels like a personal insult. Envy sees the world as a zero-sum game, believing that another's gain is their own loss. This is a profoundly demonic sin. The Catechism teaches that it was through the devil's envy that death entered the world. Satan was envious of humanity's relationship with God and sought to destroy it. When we allow envy into our hearts, we are aligning ourselves with that same destructive impulse. We begin to resent others, to speak ill of them, and to secretly wish for their failure. Envy is a poison that rots the soul from the inside, turning love into bitterness. It is a gateway for spirits of division and resentment. Next is wrath, or unrestrained anger. This is not the righteous anger that one feels at injustice, but a disordered, vengeful fury that seeks to harm another. When wrath takes control, reason is abandoned. It leads to hatred, abusive words, and even violence. The person consumed by wrath becomes a vessel for destruction. The feeling is a burning fire in the chest, a desire to lash out and inflict pain. St. Paul warns us, "Do not let the sun go down on your anger, and give no opportunity to the devil." Unresolved, bitter anger is a wide-open door. It invites a spirit of rage into our lives, a spirit that can poison our most important relationships and lead to actions we will deeply regret. Then comes the gateway of sloth, or acedia. This is not mere laziness. Sloth is a spiritual sadness, a sorrow for the things of God. It is a weariness of the soul that finds prayer to be a burden, virtue to be too difficult, and the spiritual battle to be not worth fighting. The slothful person neglects their spiritual duties. They become lukewarm, indifferent to their faith. This spiritual apathy creates a vacuum in the soul. And as Jesus warned, when a house is left empty, swept, and clean, evil spirits can return to inhabit it with even greater force. Sloth is the sin of giving up on the spiritual life, of surrendering the battlefield without a fight. It is an invitation for the enemy to simply walk in and take over. Greed, or avarice, is the inordinate love of material possessions. The greedy person makes wealth their god. Their life is consumed by the acquisition and hoarding of money and things. Jesus warned, "You cannot serve both God and mammon." Greed chokes the spiritual life. It hardens the heart to the needs of the poor and focuses all of one's energy on the temporary, fleeting treasures of this world. The sound of greed is the constant, anxious counting of coins, the endless pursuit of more. It is a gateway for a spirit of materialism that blinds the soul to its eternal destiny. It replaces a relationship with a loving God with a relationship with lifeless things. Next is the notorious gateway of gluttony. This is a disordered desire for food and drink. It is not about enjoying a good meal, but about being controlled by one's appetite. Gluttony turns the good gift of food into an idol. It is a sin of the flesh that weakens the will and makes the soul lazy and sluggish, unprepared for prayer and spiritual battle. The great spiritual masters teach that mastering the appetite is the first step in mastering the other passions. If we cannot say no to a piece of cake, how will we say no to a more serious temptation? Gluttony is a training ground for indiscipline. It opens the door to a spirit of self-indulgence that makes the soul soft and vulnerable to attack. Finally, there is lust. This is the disordered desire for sexual pleasure, treating oneself or others as objects for gratification rather than as persons to be loved and respected. In our hypersexualized culture, this gateway is perhaps the widest and most dangerous of all. Lust darkens the intellect and weakens the will. It leads to a host of other sins and can create powerful spiritual and emotional bonds that are incredibly difficult to break. It is a direct invitation for what the Desert Fathers called the demon of fornication, a spirit that torments the mind with impure thoughts and images and can lead to a complete addiction to sin. The ultimate reveal is that these 7 deadly sins are the enemy's battle plan for your soul. He does not need to invent new temptations for each person. He simply finds your primary weakness, your dominant fault among these 7, and he pushes on that door until it gives way. To know yourself, to identify your primary spiritual vulnerability, is the first step in building a strong defense. The Church's wisdom provides the direct counterweapons to these sins. The 7 contrary virtues. Humility crushes pride. Gratitude heals envy. Patience overcomes wrath. Diligence conquers sloth. Charity frees us from greed. Temperance masters gluttony, and chastity purifies us from lust. The spiritual life is the daily conscious effort to close these gateways by practicing these virtues, with the help of God's grace through prayer and the sacraments. Do not be discouraged. To be tempted by these sins is not a sin itself. The sin is in the consent of the will. The battle against these capital sins is the work of a lifetime, but it is a battle we can win. By knowing our enemy's strategy, by understanding where we are most vulnerable, we can post a guard at that gate and call upon our King, Jesus Christ, for the grace and the strength to stand firm. If this classic teaching of the Church has given you a new framework for your spiritual battle, subscribe to our channel for more timeless wisdom for the modern Catholic.